Hello, today we will cover emergency action plans. What are they and why are they so important? Our table of contents today will be the minimum requirements for an emergency action plan. These include emergency reporting systems, how to alert the facility of these emergencies, the types of evacuation and exit routes, critical operations procedures, accounting for employees post evacuation, rescue and medical personnel, their procedures, additional information on the emergency action plans, the importance and value of training on these plans, and how to communicate with workers about changes in the plan. The learning objectives today will be an introduction to emergency action plans, a quote and understanding of the Code of Federal Regulations for these plans, and the value of having both written and oral plans at the workplace. The learning objectives. The basis of this training segment is to promote the importance of creating and implementing an emergency action plan. After completing this presentation, the trainees should understand the basic requirements, roles, and procedures for building and implementing emergency action plans. Introduction. An emergency action plan is essential to ensure safety in the workplace during emergencies. It's important to have plans for multiple types of emergencies. While chemical spills, fires, and other emergencies are essential to address, a responsible planner identifies the potential risks in the environmental emergencies. In South Louisiana, we have plenty of hurricanes that come through and pose specific dangers, as well as tornadoes, winter storms, floods, and earthquakes all bring new hazards to the workplace, and it's essential for an emergency action plan to consider these as possible hazards. In this photo is a tornado aftermath at a North Carolina Pfizer factory. So the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 29, Section 1910.38 brings out what the emergency action plans, their minimum requirements, and application. An OSHA employer must have an emergency action plan whenever an OSHA standard in this part requires one. The requirements in this section apply to each such emergency action plan. Part B, written and oral emergency action plans. An emergency action plan must be in writing, kept in the workplace, and available to employees for review. However, an employer with 10 or fewer employees may communicate the plan orally to employees. What they want is a written form of the plan that workers can go to for reference to learn more about their plan. Written or oral, which is best? Well, orally explaining EAPs can help set a baseline knowledge of procedures. A written and easily accessed plan is critical. A written plan can be distributed to employees for reference in the case of emergencies to identify their next steps. In the case that a written form of reference is not readily available, workers may forget their roles and procedures during emergencies. This can bring a range of problems like miscommunication, disorganization, forgetting where, once you evacuate, where to meet up, that head counts can get messed up, and the loss of employees would just confuse supervisors. and be unsafe. Part 2. The CFR quotes these 6 items as the minimum elements of an emergency action plan. So, at minimum, they must include procedures for reporting a fire or other emergencies, procedure for emergency evacuation, including type of evacuation and exit route assignments, procedures to be followed by employees who remain to operate critical plant operations before they evacuate, procedures to account for all employees after evacuation, procedures to be followed by employees performing rescue or medical duties. It must also include the name or job title of every employee who may be contacted by employees who need more information about the plan or an explanation of their duties under the plan. So, emergency reporting. How are we going to notify employees that there are, in fact, emergencies in the facility? So, what are the most common ways to report emergencies? An EAP must identify what monitoring systems are to be used. Alarm and detection systems, like fire alarms, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. Employee observations, what they see, what they smell, what do they hear that could be potential hazards and emergencies. Severe weather alerts, like wind gauges and other meteorological equipment, can be used to detect and warn about potential environmental hazards, such as thunderstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, even snowstorms. Employees must be trained on how to read and monitor these systems. How do we alert the facility? Well, there are multiple ways to do this. Ways for alerting all personnel about emergencies: there's primary and secondary methods. Primary would be audio and video signals, loudspeakers, PA systems, to let people hear and understand there are emergencies. Secondary systems: if we have workers out, not in the facility, we can send them text messages and emails to tell them there's an emergency, do not show up. All critical personnel should be able to be contacted 24 hours a day via means of pager, cell phone, or any other means. In case there's an emergency, you want to get in contact with who you need to get in contact with. Maintenance of these alert devices are paramount to maintaining a safe environment. Inspections and routine maintenance of emergency alarm equipment, running system tests, recalibrating equipment, and even changing batteries in this equipment can help. These are other forms of warning systems. We have wireless indoor PA speakers, wireless outdoor PA speakers, wireless wall-mounted panic buttons. This would be your typical push and pull fire or hazard alert systems. LED message boards. If you can't hear it and you can see the screen, they'll say, like here, emergency, please exit, the date, the time, to make sure it's the right situation. Visual alert devices, these are your exit signs, emergency lighting, everything like that. What are the types of evacuation? Many emergencies may require the evacuation of all staff. There's mainly 2 types of evacuations: vertical and horizontal. Vertical evacuations, up or downstairs, because you do not want to use an elevator in any sort of emergency. Horizontal is moving to a different area. What are exit routes? How are they effective? What should they look like? How should they be prepared? Exit routes should be mapped out for ease of following. An exit route primarily contains three parts. There's an exit access, which is the path to take to the exit. The exit is the means of egress. Egress is where you go to leave a certain situation. The exit discharge is the path to the outside, to your safe area. Exit signs must be visible as well as having emergency lighting in the case of power failure to light up these routes to help employees and staff follow. If an obstacle is blocking the primary route, it's essential to plan backup secondary routes. Here we have a picture map of a simulated office space. This is a basic evacuation route. Note that you can see both primary in red and secondary exits in blue. Both account for obstacles, variations. Both exits shown. You can follow the arrows to the nearest exit for where you're designated in the office. What are critical operation procedures? Certified personnel may have to stay longer to safely shut down vital plant operations. This involves designated individuals, clear evacuation procedures, and communication protocols to prioritize both employee safety and protection of critical infrastructure. This is shutting down critical plant functions that, if they were not shut down, could lead to more damage and destruction. How do we account for employees during an evacuation? There's mainly two methods that come to mind. It's last man out and post-evacuation. The last man out of a room should have the accountability to ensure that he is in fact the last man out of that room. A post-evacuation head count of all employees at designated meetup spots help the process go a lot faster and easier. How do we account for all these employees? Setting up one or more assembly areas so employees know where to go to get counted. The importance of perfecting drills can help save lives in the case of future emergencies. What are the procedures for medical and rescue personnel? What do they do in the case of emergencies? Normally, there would be to provide first aid and initial care until first responders can get on scene. They coordinate with these first responders to know what equipment they need, what's the total amount of people they might need to take care of, ensuring proper evacuation and patient transport to nearby medical facilities. How do employees go about getting more information about their emergency action plans? While training is important to gauge the effectiveness of the plan, the employee should be encouraged and able to contact employers and critical personnel for additional information. Here we have a photo. There's names and phone numbers as well as their email addresses. Now, in an ideal contact list, you would see their positions in the company, but this is all I could find. Part 3 of the CFR, Employee Alarm Systems. An employer must have and maintain an employee alarm system The employee alarm system must use a distinctive signal for each purpose and comply with the requirements in Section 1910.165. An employer must designate and train employees to assist in a safe and orderly evacuation of other employees. What are employee alarm systems? The employee alarm system shall be capable of being perceived above ambient noise or light levels by all employees in the affected portions of the workspace. Around high pitch and loud equipment, they must be able to hear or see the alert symbols. Tactile devices may be used to alert those employees who can't recognize audio or visual alarms. This could be if someone has hearing problems, if they're wearing ear protection amongst loud equipment. They make little buzzers that you get in your pocket and it'll vibrate whenever you need to be notified of something. These are common alarm systems that you might find in the workplace. You have door alarms, like this one here, that when the door is open, an alert will sound. Push and pull fire alarms that you see in most buildings you walk into. And then outdoor PA systems, as well as electronic alarm systems that send directly to devices. Training. How effective and how often should you undergo training? All employees should participate in routine evacuation training. Evacuation training could be completed roughly every 6 months or at least annually. However, OSHA may require drills for more frequently, such as every 3 months for a high-risk environment. What are training takeaways that you should receive? Upon completing a drill, it's vastly important to review potential errors and mistakes to ensure the plan's integrity. Updates to evacuation procedures may be needed to improve plan effectiveness. The last section of the CFR is a review of the emergency action plan. An employer must review the emergency action plan with each employee covered by the plan. When the plan is developed or the employee is assigned initially to the job, they must receive info on the plan. When an employee's responsibilities under the plans change, and as well as when the plan is changed, to effectively review an emergency action plan, annual reviews, post-drill meetings, and post-emergency reflections help understand how effective the plan really is and if changes need to be made. If the plan is changed, employers should utilize multiple communication methods. Written documents, such as memos sent to them, posters up around the office, and training sessions would help. Plans should be updated to cover newly presented hazards in the workplace. The plan may change when layouts, equipment, and personnel are changed or modified. That brings us to the end of this training segment. I hope that you were able to understand the minimum requirements of emergency action plans and how important they are to a business and as a safety person. We're responsible for ensuring safe operations as well. A well-created plan includes both the minimum requirements and so on and so forth that you'll learn in other courses and how important it is to a company and as a safety person.